Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Incompetent Nerds. My name is Mark. I'm here with my good buddy Tank, and we have a very special guest for you today. My good buddy, fellow comic, Josue Hernandez. Hello, Josue. Nice to have you on here, buddy.
Hello, guys. How's it going? Tank and Mark, nice to meet you guys. I haven't met Tank before, but Mark, like you said, we've done some shows together, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah, so I met Josue at a show. Just we had good vibes. We hit it off. I recorded his episode on his podcast today. That will also all be in the description. But on Tank's end, we just thought it would be cool to have another interview for you guys for the month of October.
Yep.
And we're sort of going to structure it the same way we've been structuring it. And we always let the guest pick the poison. So Josue, what was the topic you chose to nerd out about today?
Well, I chose stand-up comedy, Mark. I kind of thought about a couple of things, but honestly, I just went back to the thing I do literally every day, stand-up comedy. So that's my poison.
Cool. So yeah, that's how we know each other. Tank, why don't you hit him with a question?
All right. Well, to begin with, just so the audience know, I am buzzed. We had a party at work today. I fucking swallowed like 6 beers, to be exact, 6 Coronas, before bringing my ass to the cast. So I might be a little bit more funnier than usual. But let's go ahead and get this all started. Since, Josue, I don't know you, but you and Mark know each other. So how do you guys know each other?
So we actually did a stand-up show together here at Burbank here in LA. We ran into each other. I think we each did like a 5-minute set that day.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I don't talk to comedians like outside because I'm just like, I'm a very shy guy. Like it's not like deliberate. Like I'm just like, I'm not going to talk to anyone today. But I don't know, like we just kind of like hit it off. I saw his set. I really liked his, like the way he delivered his jokes and his material. So after that, we just started talking and kind of hit it off. And he just came over today, did an episode on my podcast, and invited me on with you guys.
Awesome. Can I just say something, Mark?
Sure.
You hit it off with like any other people, every other person you meet. You go hiking, you do stand-up. Fucking you visit around half the world with people just all because it's like, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? Next thing you know, they fall in love with you.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever told that story to you. I don't know if I told it to you on or off the podcast, but when I was little, like I was playing catch with my aunt, and my ball went over the fence, to the neighbor's yard.
Yeah.
And I was all bummed, I was shy, I was sad, and she was like, my aunt was just like, no, don't be sad, like get your ass up, like go over to the next door, knock on the door, ask them, can I have my ball back, And then she was like, you can't really be shy in this life because it's like it's not going to get you where you want. And then that was, I don't know why that resonates with me. It was like from being so little to now, but it was like that was the moment where I was like, you don't have to talk to everybody, but just like the people you do interact with, try to give them your full attention and say what's up.
Yeah, so you're trying to say that the connection that we had is not special?
I know, right? I'm so sorry.
Oh, trust me, bro. I feel you, Josue. It's the same thing with me and him.
So, Josue, we'll ask. It's a normal passion question. Why stand up, or what was your drive to stand up?
What was my drive to stand up? So my whole career in stand up started when I was in college. I was majoring in physics. I was getting my physics degree. I ended up getting it, but like halfway through physics, I moved here to LA from Mexico. And I had always grew up like seeing Jim Carrey, seeing Steve Martin. I was just like, I want to go see like a stand-up show. Again, being a broke college student, I can't afford $50 for a stand-up show. So I looked up something local. I found an open mic. I didn't know what an open mic was, but I saw that it was free. I was like, this is my jam. I'm going to go. So I show up to an open mic. For those that don't know what an open mic is, it's just basically you put your name on a list and you get to tell jokes for 3-5 minutes, whatever. And I went to the open mic. I saw the show, and it was not funny at all. But it made me realize, like, I can do this. Like, you don't have to be a Jim Carrey. You don't have to be a Steve Martin. Like, if you just write some stuff, you get on stage and you just try it out. So I went to that open mic 2 or 3 times just as an audience member.
Okay.
And then eventually my girlfriend went with me and she told me to put my name on. At this point, we had been dating for like 2 or 3 months, which I don't
Okay.
know, Mark. You know stories of like people of like first time sets, so it didn't go
Yeah.
that well. I don't know why I thought that'd be a good idea, but I did my jokes. Like I wrote jokes and I did them. No one laughed at all. But like the moment like I knew like that was for me is because even like I bombed super super hard, but the adrenaline was just like so much and I just like loved being up there and
On stage, yeah.
like telling people things that I had written at home by myself and just I don't know, like it was very like it was a good creative outlet for me. I was scared to like change my major, so I ended up graduating in physics, but like the whole time after that I just kept on writing material and kept on doing open mics. So for the past couple months or so, I quit my job and I've just been doing this full time.
Yeah, you're going all out for it. It's nice that you had like you thought of a plan and you just didn't were like, "Oh, I'm going to be a stand-up comic." You sort of planned for it a little bit. So that's always nice to see. Did
Yeah.
you so it sounded like you didn't really know it was like innate. You sort of just like fell into it as a hobby in the beginning, but and after that first time you were hooked, but would you say you have a natural writing ability or natural like ability to be funny, or is it something that you just sort of learned as you've gone along?
I think it's well, this is like a cop out answer, but I think it's like a little bit of both. Like I grew up being a very shy person. I was always like the awkward kid in our group of friends, the awkward kid at a party. The like I grew up in like my family's Mexican. I grew up in like a Mexican family. Everyone's cracking jokes all the fucking time, and it's just like people just roasting you all the time. And I was just a shy kid in the corner. But like I was the kind of guy that wouldn't tell jokes out like in person. Instead, I'd like think about them and then tell my cousin or tell my classmate, like make them laugh, do impressions of other people. But I'd never like thought about it as like I'm a funny guy. Like I was just uncomfortable, and that was my way to get out of it. And I like that's how I kind of like cultivated that like creative side. I didn't discover that I could do it as an art form until a couple months into comedy. I was like, oh, I can actually everything that I think in my head, I just have to write it down, and there you go. I'm writing jokes.
Yeah.
Like it was just a combination. Yeah.
No, okay.
I feel like Puerto Rican and Mexican and Italian families, the more I learn about all of them, it's just like they're all the same.
Yeah.
They're literally all the same.
No, when he said about the whole roasting, the whole family gathering and roasting each other is like, yeah, that's the same here. And Josue, I was in your same shoes. Kid growing up, I was a quiet one, shy one on the corner. Families roasting each other, even me, and I just can't. I'm like, I don't know how to defend myself. But as time came on, I started doing quick snapbacks. Even Marc could tell you. Half
Yeah.
the time, like I don't write jokes. I don't write my jokes. I don't know like tell you the truth, I do not know the flow of say story, then punchline or whatever the fuck how the flow goes. But Marc was telling me like when you think about it, you struggle, but you naturally have it. Like you could just go ahead, say what you're gonna say, hit the punchline, and you don't even fucking realize it.
Yeah, like you definitely have the natural ability, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like for me, I don't. It's there sometimes, and then sometimes I feel like I go up and I'm just like, wow, it was not there today. So writing is definitely I definitely need writing as well.
That it for sure came out of like a defense mechanism. Like I got bullied a lot in middle school just
Same.
for like being skinny and having glasses, but I never
Vice
like I
versa
never
plus
took it too
glasses.
personally. Like I could never like stand up to someone and fight. Like I mean, you guys can see me right now. I'm not a fighter. But if
He's
I
not
made someone
intimidating.
laugh, if I made someone laugh, like they became a friend or at least like they thought I was funny, like they were just like, oh, I guess we won't beat this kid up today. Like
Right.
we'll do it.
We'll do it later as long as he can keep cracking jokes and
Yeah.
he's all right with us. That's a good perspective. I never really thought of that. I'm also not a confrontational person, but it's like I'll figure out a way to either like make you laugh or like diffuse the situation or like make
Exactly,
you
yeah.
forget what you were mad about. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely with you on that one.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny how we all have that all in common. Same thing with me. It was in high school. Like I got bullied in middle school. Then when I went to high school, I was like, I'm sick and tired of this shit. I'm not gonna get bullied. And next, you know, I started being funny with a bunch of people, and I'll never forget one day when I was a kid, my mother told me, "You have a very intimidating look." But deep down, I'm like, I don't feel intimidating. I feel like I'm just a fat fuck kid who just likes Dragon Ball and just like no. I can't defend myself, but hey, I actually grew some balls one day, and a Freshie Friday came around. Some asshole threw a penny at me, grabbed it, and threw it right back. And he's like, "I'm gonna see you at the school." I'm like, "Bring it." I don't know where this courage came from, but it happened. I go outside, I'm looking for the motherfucker, and I don't see him. I'm like, all right, cool, fuck him. And then after that, I just started being a comic, made friends of both freshmen, sophomore, all those years, different high school years, all because I was just growing up. I used to watch a lot of Death Comedy Jam. My father used to have the VHS. If you motherfuckers know what the hell that is, I'm not talking about YouTube. I'm talking about everybody else who's listening what the hell a VHS is. But I used to watch Death Comedy Jam on there, the collection. So seeing like Chris Tucker, Martin Lawrence, D.L. Hughley, Bernie Mac,
Craig Robinson before he was mainstream.
Fucking early Dave Chappelle, like all this shit. And I would take those jokes in and go to school and say them and tell kids, like, you ever watch Def Comedy Jam? Like, no. And I would just retell the jokes word for word. And I have them crying. Like, literally, I'll never forget. I had this one senior fucking crying, laughing. And it was the first time I ever seen somebody actually cry, laugh. And I felt good inside. I'm like, yo, I'm making people laugh. This is awesome. So I never aspired to be a comic, but it inspired me to always be funny, have a personality, be out there, and be quick with it. Especially, I'm an older brother, and my middle sister, we always, either growing up, we were always going at it, either physically or verbally. But it was mostly verbally. So it was like, I'll call her a name, like, you stupid bitch, but she'll get me so quick, it'll throw me off, and I got to think about it, like, how do I get her back? And already 20 minutes passed, and it's too late. Now it's like, I insult her, she insults me, I insult her back within seconds. And it's all because it's like, you trained me to be like this.
We're just a product of our upbringing, man. Like, that's it.
Yeah, of our also environment.
I like how he said he had 6 Coronas at work and he's chugging the 7th right now.
Drinking the 7th right now.
7 Corona right now. Yeah,
at least you're consistent.
I got number 8 in the fridge waiting for me, and that's for dinner.
But you talk about Def Comedy Jam, Tank. That's a good transition. Josue, what influence or who influences your stand-up? Is sort of what it's like. I hate the question of like, what's your POV, but what are your influences?
Well, we were talking about this earlier, but like my early influences have to be Jim Carrey and Steve Martin, like that, like silly comedy, because my parents always were very, like, they sheltered us a lot. They didn't let us like watch, like, I remember my mom wouldn't even let me watch Friends for a long time because they had like innuendo, stuff like that.
Wow, that's great.
Like, I couldn't watch The Simpsons. So the thing that my dad was always able to watch with me was like a Jim Carrey movie, or even like Jim Carrey, some Adam Sandler movies, and definitely like Steve Martin. I remember the first Steve Martin movie I watched, which just gives away my age, is just like Cheaper by the Dozen. Like, that was like way later in his career. Like, there's a lot of other shit he did, but like that's the first introduction I got to Steve Martin.
I think that was the first movie I saw of him too, because it was like it was sort of like a kid movie, but it was also like it was just like the tail end of his career of like
it's like a good family movie. And like I can see why my dad was just like, that's what he like. I remember watching that. I remember watching Liar Liar for Jim Carrey.
Oh my god.
What was the Bruce Almighty?
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of those when he's just goofy. Like, there's not a lot of like actual joke writing, like set up punchline. It's more like physical comedy.
Right.
So that's what I grew up watching for sure. I never watched stand-up comedy growing up until I moved back to the States, because I was in Mexico for my middle school and high school. So when I moved back, I started getting into stand-up. And so I started getting into, again, Steve Martin, but I went like way back. I was like, I didn't know this dude was a stand-up comedian. Like, I just thought he was the guy from Cheaper by the Dozen. Like, I watched The Jerk. I watched all his stand-up specials. I downloaded all of them. I listened to all of them. I was like, dude, this guy is like, he's done everything. And then that just went down the rabbit hole of, I also found out Jim Carrey did a little bit of stand-up, did some improv. And it kind of like opened the doors for me in terms of, I liked comedy, but I never saw myself as an actor. And then I see these two people that I used to see on the screen, on stage in front of a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh wait, that actually looks like something I would like to do. Like I never saw myself as an actor, but I can definitely see myself performing in front of people. And so that's what kind of like gave me like that idea. And then I just went down the rabbit hole, started seeing other stand-up comedians that like I can mention them, but those aren't really like my influences. I'd have to say those two people are the ones that got me into
The
comedy.
heavy hitters, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to Tim Allen stand up?
I haven't. No.
I think I would put him in that same category of just like comedians who are really funny, really physical, like really great joke writers.
Mm-hmm.
But like you say those three people, and most people think of the movies that they had, or Tim Allen's TV show, but they think of them as actors, and that like that transition from comedian to actor, like only there's a very handful of comics who have done it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see the comics who have done it sort of like they're so resonating in your mind, and they have like such a specific way about themselves and like a specific point of view that you're like, oh, that's exactly that person, or oh, well, like I remember that movie like for this reason, 10 20 years later.
So like they basically taught me like you don't have to be the guy that has like the quick comeback at like a family gathering, like that's always cracking jokes. You can just be the guy that makes funny faces, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Like there's something to that. Like you're being confident. You're like it's not just easy comedy. Like it's thoughtful, and you're doing something, and you're getting a rise out of someone too. Like, I think that's pretty cool. That's basically my influences.
Nice.
What I wanted to add on to was the comics. You ever watched Robin Williams stand up?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that's classic.
I watched, yeah.
I was gonna say what's crazy is like growing up watching his movies. It was always watched all his family friendly movies. Never another like rarely any of his serious roles. More like his family friendly. But when I started watching his stand up, which was later in my years, because I didn't like growing up, it was always a lot of minority comics, so a lot of black and a lot of Hispanic comics I used to watch growing up, not a lot of whites or anybody else. So when I saw his comics, the whites
hate those guys.
So growing up, so not even now, but recently I started watching like some of his older stand up, and it felt weird because it was like seeing it's like seeing Mr. Rogers like curse for the first time and say sexual jokes, and you're just like, yo,
yeah.
I'm not used to this. But after a while, like watching some of his stand-ups, I'm like, this man was a fucking comedy genius.
Yeah.
Like watching his shit, I'm like, damn. Kind of pissed off that he passed, but seeing like some of his jokes from the past is like, yo, he was a great guy. Especially his stand-up.
I think people underestimate that ability to go like back and forth, and to like for him to have done all that material and then done kids films, it's crazy.
I think when that happened for me is that guy from America's Funniest Home Videos. I forget that guy's name.
Tom Bergeron?
No. Something Saget. Bob Saget.
Yeah.
Dude, Bob Saget.
Full House, man.
I used to, Full House, yeah. I used to, actually never watched Full House. I knew him from America's Funniest Home Videos.
Oh, okay.
Always like a family show.
Wholesome, yeah. Full House was even worse.
I come to find out that this guy's stand-up stuff is just like the most degenerate thing ever.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it was that same reality that like Tank was talking about. Like, okay, like you thought Robin Williams was family friendly, then you go watch his stand-up stuff. I thought Bob Saget was family friendly. I was like, oh, like, you don't have to corner yourself into like a specific market. You can have different pockets, and like I'm sure he have people from America's Funniest Home Videos look him up, get a fan of his stand-up stuff, or vice versa. Like it's a good thing to have multiple facets of like what you can do. So that was pretty cool to see too. Yeah.
We have this. What was I gonna say? I saw this like documentary on him. Like it was between season 5 and season 6 of like Full House, and like he wanted more money, but like he hated being like this like clean squeaky dad with like dad jokes, and like it was obviously it's a show, it's written, right?
Yeah.
But wanting to do like just more raunchier stuff, it's like it's a weird. It's got to be a weird place to be at in your career to like have a perspective on stage and then like play something completely different.
Well, that used to be the path for comedian, right? Like you'd go to the comedy store, you'd go like this is what I used to hear, like comedy store, Ice House. You do your set, and then the goal for a comedian was to get a sitcom,
Right?
and then you become the squeaky king comic,
Right?
On a TV show.
Yeah, I guess that you don't really think about that until you look back at 20 years and it's like, oh, all those people did it like exactly like that.
Yeah, like what we were saying about Robin Williams, Bob Saget. I'm like, Steve Martin was never a dirty comic, but his stuff definitely like it was a little less risque.
Dirty
like,
adjacent.
Yeah.
That's what I like to say. So what do you think your style is, Josue? And what do you like? How do you think? Why do you think you are unique?
Ooh, damn, that's a deep question.
I'm getting so deep right now.
I'm unique because I'm myself. There's no other me out there. Is that an answer? I don't know. Like my style, I've been doing comedy for on and off for 4 years, getting into it seriously for like the past couple months. And to be honest with you, I feel like I'm still experimenting with my style. Like I feel like I started off very deadpan, not really having a lot of energy on stage. Yeah. At first, I thought it was a decision, but I just realized I just wasn't confident on stage. Then I started incorporating a little bit more energy. Like I'd go over the top, like George Lopez style. I was like, that's not really for me. I'm trying out some storytelling styles, like we were talking about Mike Birbiglia and like John Mulaney, kind of how they tell stories, like very well thought out. So right now I'm bouncing back and forth on styles, trying to figure things out. But for the most part, I feel more comfortable in like the storytelling aspect, blending in with one-liners, like telling a story and throughout just popping a tag or a one-liner joke here and there. But I definitely feel like that's where I feel more comfortable because I have experiences that I feel like up until that point I felt like had only happened to me. Like there's, as like a Mexican American, I have things that have happened to me that maybe haven't happened to you as an Italian or I forgot where Tank was from. Where was it?
Chicagoan.
Oh, Chicago. There you go.
Puerto Rican, bro.
But you're from Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Ethnicity is Puerto Rican.
Yes.
But so I would tell these jokes. I always thought these things just happened to me, and then turns out you don't have to be a Mexican to understand like where I'm coming from. Like it's just like I have a joke about people just being ignorant and getting stopped at TSA a lot and just like stuff like that. And I feel like the best I can offer as a comedian is just my own experience through my lens and then try to make it as relatable as possible. So I'm not telling jokes just for Mexicans or just for nerds or just for like whatever the topic is. I try to have like an underlying theme throughout it. Like if that joke about getting pulled over at TSA a lot, it's more like a comment on like a little bit like on society, like how we see people through different lenses.
Sure.
I'm sure that even white people get stereotyped based on like we make fun of white people all the time. We make fun of black people all the time, Mexican people. Like I always felt like people aren't going to relate to this because not everyone's Mexican. And slowly I figured out that my style is more just like coming from emotions and then putting it through my filter.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I've talked to this with both of you about like honestly being a white guy, I'm aware of like how I get treated versus like how like a minority might get treated, but I think there's still realness in saying like, hey, this is still happened to me and this is freaking hilarious, like, and this is why it's hilarious. Like I think I told you, Tank, I also got stopped on the border too in Buffalo, New York by a Russian like border patrol crossing. It's like for a second you're like, oh, like is this what it's like to be a minority? And then you like are like, what is going on here? But it's everybody has similar experiences. You just have to find what people can relate to.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still working on that style, so
yeah.
I don't know, if you interview me in a year I might have a different answer for you.
There you go. We'll put it on the calendar. Oh no, we got the ice cream truck coming by.
I was about to say, can we put the podcast on pause and I go get a cup and I go get a cone real quick and come back? Even though it's coming at your end.
No, we like mistakes here at Incompetent Nerds.
Of course, we
on a
keep
mistake
moving forward with them.
We should definitely go get a cone.
Let's go get a cone. Do you guys ever get ice cream from like one of those Mexican trucks and you feel like the ice cream has literally been in the freezer for like 2 years? Mm-hmm. That's the ice cream like consistency. It feels like it's been melted and frozen like 8 different times.
Dude, it's funny because So I went to my girl's house Monday, and the ice cream man pulls up, and this is what I love because she lives in where it's predominantly Puerto Ricans. So the guy in the truck is a Puerto Rican guy. He pulls up, speaks no English, but he has a soft serve ice cream. I put him like, hey man, let me get a cone. He goes, all right. He goes, okay. He goes, the fucker didn't give me a cone. Fucker gave me a waffle cone and charged me $3. When I see him grab, I'm like, no. I went, no, and then I'm just stopped. I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. I deserve me a motherfucking waffle cone. Paid him $3. I'm walking back, bro. I was happy. I'm walking back to my girlfriend's house, cheesy, walking inside, like just all jumping with joy. I asked her, you want some? She went, no. I'm like, good. So I wasn't going to give it one anyways.
Like it was just a formality.
It was just a formality, exactly.
Yeah, just be nice.
So we'll get into some more highlights.
Well, hold on. Before we go on, this is what I want to ask. And this is for both you guys, since I don't do stand-up comedy over here in Chicago, even though Mark has inspired me to go ahead and try. And there is an improv in my neighborhood. And I'm thinking about it. Maybe one of these days I'll just go and, talk shit and see if I get booed off stage or whatever. Because Mark knows I'm very un-PC. And my question is about PC in comedy.
All right.
How do you guys feel about current stand-up comedy and the PC culture we have today?
I don't think I can answer this. I'm going to get canceled. So.
Hey, you're not the only one. I'm risking. Mark is probably thinking like, "Don't shut the fuck up, Tang. We're gonna get canceled."
I guess we'll leave it to the white guy to answer.
Yeah, I want to hear a white guy's perspective first.
This is my perspective, and I won't drop like these are. I've heard stories and I've heard how people come across, and I won't like just out of like. We'll keep everything like anonymous, and I'll just say like the general idea.
Of course.
I've heard of comedians stealing other jokes, and these are comedians that have their own shows and have stolen other jokes. I've heard of comedians being rude to bookers and being rude to other people. And when I think about that stuff, I think about like I never want someone to think of me and think of me being disrespectful. Now, when that comes to like what people say is like PC or not PC things to say, I feel like you have to decide like your own filter and things you do or don't want to talk about, because if you allow yourself to be censored by not talking about a certain group of people or not talking about a certain ideal that someone has, then you're sort of like limiting yourself to really going far into the ability of comedy you can write. And I'm not saying like, put it in your show, make sure you invite like your friends and family and like make sure they hear that one joke that's like about Puerto Ricans. But if you want, like I do literally believe that there's a time and place for everything, and you just have to be a little more mindful of that. But
yeah,
if you don't care, then I would just say own not caring. And if someone comes up to you and says like, I'm upset that you told this joke, be like, good, you should be upset. It should cause a visceral reaction and you should do something about it. I wish you would write a better stand-up joke than me, and I'll say the punchline and I'll give you credit for it. That when you sort of call people on their quote unquote bullshit, yeah, then I think people back down. I think people more so get upset at just the uncomfortableness of how things make them feel.
Yeah.
But when you get to the heart of art, I think that's what it really is.
Very good answer, Mark.
Thank you. Okay, now next question.
Hold on, motherfucker. I want to say my shit now because, yeah, I know I haven't done stand-up and seen the whole PC culture, this cancel culture, and all this other bullshit. It's like we grew up watching these old comics. We see how they were like unfiltered and how funny it was. Hell, like I will watch like certain comedians will say certain words and you're just like, yo, that was pretty funny though. But
yeah.
But now it's like they want this wholesome Christian like comedy minus the Christian because they don't like how certain Christians are, and it's like, yo, something has to give. Like, I'm
Yeah,
being dead
somebody has to
honest.
be. We
Something
have to be on
has
the
to
same
give.
page somewhere. Yeah.
And this
I
is
like the show we went to where it was like an underground comedy show. Where I told him he was the one I took to that show I was telling you
in
about.
the
Yeah.
alley, which I
And
pointed it out, and you're like, no, it's not there. To find out it was there.
yeah,
Yeah, asshole.
and it was people from Chicago. It was all like it was a guy who is African American. He's from Chicago, and he had a lot of uh, black comedians. But then I liked how the last guy was Kevin, and he was white, and it was just like that made it full. Like, to me, that was like, it made it full circle to where, like, oh, this is not like a black show. This is
No.
this is just a show. And I think themes are good and bad, because it's nice to have a theme, but it's also nice to just like to have people riff on the same thing, because we're all experiencing the same thing.
I don't know, like
Go ahead.
Go
This
ahead.
way. Go ahead.
I was just gonna put my input on like what you guys were saying about PC culture. Two of my two of my favorite comedians. I feel like everyone's favorite comedian in their list is like Dave Chappelle is like
Yeah,
up there.
he's up there. Yeah.
But another one is Bill Burr for me.
Oh yes.
They both had a special recently where Bill Burr just digs right into the whole thing that's happening with PC culture, not having like due process for like people that get called out for Me Too, and he got a lot of flack for that. And also, I think Chappelle talked about the people from the Michael Jackson documentary. I don't know if you guys watched that documentary. It's pretty graphic, but like he talks about how he doesn't believe the kids, right?
Sure.
So both of those topics are very anti-PC. Like, you can't.
Yeah,
if you try to say those jokes at a college, you for sure will get kicked off stage and not get invited back.
Exactly.
But what I love about Bill Burr, for example, is that he'll do it in like a perspective that you never thought about. He's kind of making fun of how absurd it is. He's not making fun of the victims. He's not making fun of the movement. He's more just like making fun of how absurd things tend to happen in our society. Like, someone gets called out, they get fired from their job without having gone to court, and like things like this that would be like normal for if you get like indicted for something, right?
Yeah.
And he got a lot of flack for that, but I really enjoyed his set because he gives it a fresh perspective. Yes, it's like pushing the boundary a little bit. Yes, it's not PC, but I think he did it in such a way that he kind of like averted insulting certain people, and just kind of came out and talked about how absurd it was. Dave Chappelle, on the other hand, he just went balls deep into excuse that when we were talking about Michael Jackson, but he just went all in on that.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he didn't believe the kids, and that's like a different way to approach it, because then now you're talking about victims of like alleged abuse, right? But he's more like, I feel like he just mentioned that as a tag more than anything. He's talking about how Michael Jackson has been dead, and he still has like 2 or 3 investigations going on.
Right.
Like, even Michael Jackson's getting Me Too'd, and that's like he's pointing out how absurd it is that this guy's dead, but people are still trying to like cancel him.
Assign, right. We still have to assign, like,
which I get it. Like, we're trying to, like, you don't want to support someone that has been doing something like that allegedly, right? But I think both of them are approaching it from a way of just like pointing out how absurd it is. I feel like that's the job of a comedian, to say like, hey, look at this. This is fucked up. Look at what we're doing. A comedian's job isn't to solve the problem. It's just to make fun of what is happening. Right. I don't know if that makes sense. But like, I feel like you can approach a PC topic and kind of get there, push the boundary just a little bit without like insulting. Well, I mean, you're going to insult some people, but without being disrespectful, I guess.
Yeah, I think you have to find the absurdity in the hypocrisy. You have to look at people sort of who are on the outside judging and say like, whoa, why are you judging this one thing when you do all these other things that are the complete opposite or are opposite adjacent?
Yeah. For me, when it came to his special, I think what he was trying to push more was the fact that these are just jokes. No matter how extreme or how PC they are, they're just jokes. Look how he named his special, Sticks and Stones. Where do we hear that? Where do we hear that from? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. That's the whole point of that special. sticks and stones. Basically, if I hit you with a stick, it's gonna hurt. But if I hit you with words, hey, it's just words. It's what he's trying to say is they're just jokes, no matter how hardcore he is. And when it came to like, if you look at Rotten Tomato and you see the scores of critics versus audience, it's like there's a huge difference. The audience don't care. Most people don't care about this whole PC bullshit, and people just want to have this escapism. But this PC crowd is like, no, or this woke crowd, they're like, no, you gotta, you got every type of entertainment needs to have some type of real world event in it. No, it doesn't.
Application, yeah. Yeah, and I think that for example, if that was Dave Chappelle's first special, like you would never hear that word name again.
Exactly.
He was taking his name and his success, and he was essentially, and we talked about this today, betting on himself. And I think when you're able to bet on yourself, that's when like him or hate him, it doesn't matter. Like you say the name Dave Chappelle is going to be around that much longer. It doesn't matter if you say I hate or I love.
Exactly.
At least you're talking about him.
Exactly.
It's
Well, well, that leads us to our highlights. Josue, can you explain to us like some of the highlights of your stand-up?
Yeah, high points.
Highlights. Okay, so one of the high points was actually one of the low points, but it's like a kind of like a mixed bag here. Like the first time I did stand-up, like I told you guys, went really, really, really bad. Like I had written what I thought were like great jokes. I went up with my sheet of paper and my punchlines and everything, and did one at a time. I was shaking. I did my jokes. No one laughed. No one laughed, but I remember one lady in the crowd just yelled out, "That's funny," and that's the one response I got. But at the same time, that was a highlight for me because I had finally done something that had been scaring me for so long, and like I wanted to do it, and it just like made me realize I can do this. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like I literally, the worst thing that could have happened was no one laughed at my jokes, and that's what happened. But I survived, and it was fine, and I realized it's not that big of a deal. So I would say like that's for sure my first highlight in comedy was doing horrible the first time, because it just gave me that drive to keep on going, and it just made me realize nothing's gonna, like, you're not gonna die. It's fine. You're gonna go up there, you can try your shit, and it's gonna be good. The next highlight I have, which kind of like solidified my belief in myself as a stand-up comedian, is I won a stand-up competition at Flappers one time, and that I was maybe like 2 or 3 months into comedy. I'd been writing
Uncle
a lot.
Clyde's?
Uncle Clyde's.
There you go.
And some of those jokes I still carry with me, and it's a small comedy competition in Claremont, but still, like, for me that felt huge. Like that was,
you were the best one
because
to perform that night.
I had never won anything ever before. And I was just like, okay, this is great. Like it's like a physical acknowledgement of your hard work, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, I don't know, like soccer players get medals, like athletes get medals, people get Nobel prizes. Like comedians, we win competitions every once in a while. So that was like a big highlight for me, and that also gave me like the drive. I don't know, like in my 4 years of doing comedy, like there's a lot of accomplishments that I've had that feel really big to me. Like the next one probably was 2 years later is when I submitted for the first time to a comedy festival, and I paid the $40 to submit. I was like, oh well, I don't know, I might get
$40, right?
Yeah. And then I get the email a month later, hey, you were selected to be at the comedy festival, and it was a very euphoric moment for me. I remember I was at work last year when that happened. No one at work knew that I was a stand-up comedian, so I couldn't share it with anyone, but I was just like so fucking happy the whole day. It was just like, again, physical representation of hard work. And I remember like sharing this with other people. Like it was a Palm Springs Comedy Festival. It was their first year doing it. And other people in the stand-up community were just like, oh, well, yeah, it's their first year. I was like, dude, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I got it.
Anything you say will not change the fact that I feel very proud of this.
Right.
And the very last thing that happened was I did the audition at the Ice House. And that's the first time I ever auditioned to be at a comedy club. And again, there's a part in my brain that's saying like, oh yeah, well, it's not like an official show from the Ice House, but still, like it was a room of like 50 comedians.
Yep.
We both know Dave McNary, I think he chooses like half of the comedians, and then he might tell the other half to come back later.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of the ones that got picked, and again, that's just like it feels good to know that your hard work is paying off, because it's hard to explain to people that writing jokes is hard. Like
Yeah.
it's hard to complain about writing jokes.
Right,
If you feel,
right.
like if you tell some, like if someone asks, one time someone asked me like, hey, can you help me do this today? I was like, no, I'm gonna write jokes today. I'm busy. And they kind of rolled their eyes at me. He's like, you're writing jokes. You're gonna blow me off for jokes. But just like so the listeners know, like it's not like you go on stage and you're just funny. Like you sit down, you write some premises, you go to open mics, you get heckled, you get you bomb a lot, and then you finally it culminates to something. And
right.
that was,
even if it's a 5-minute show where you got 10 other comedians, it's your 5 minutes, and you gotta do the best you can at it.
And well, I mean, I guess the last one, just to get kind of emotional here, is getting invited on this podcast. I'd never actually like made a friend in comedy. Well, yes, a couple. If my other friends listen to this, you guys are also special, but you guys have never invited me on your podcast.
Yeah, since you invited me, Josue, I tried to return the favor. But more importantly, I live 50 miles away, so I wanted to save us both the gas money, because we all know how expensive the California gas prices are.
Yeah, expensive. When I fill up your car.
No matter what you say, even if you say it was because of that, in my heart of hearts, I know it was because you're just like, this guy's funny. He's gonna kill it on the podcast.
He is gonna kill it. You are killing it.
Oh man.
I'll hit you. Well, since we're already emotional, we'll keep it emotional.
All right, let's go.
If there's one thing you want people to take away after meeting you, what would it be? And this could be extended to stand-up. It could be extended outside of stand-up. Whatever, however you see fit.
Okay, so we're gonna get deep here, because like I told you guys, I quit my job. I've mostly been doing stand-up with like most of my time, but I've had a lot of free time to just read.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to like better myself and how I carry myself through life, and it just translates into stand-up comedy. So I've been reading a lot of philosophy, and like the main thing that I've been reading about is just the key to, well, what a lot of philosophers think is like the key to enjoying life or to being happy is just to be present. And so like again, Mark, this is what I told you the first time I saw you do stand-up. I was like, that guy is present, like he's on stage. He's nowhere else. He's not in his head. He's just on stage. And so that's something I noticed right away, and that's something like I've been working with as well. Like I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with like not being able to talk to people and just like having that shyness. And so I've been working on being a lot more present. Like something as simple as just like making eye contact with someone at the coffee shop when you order a coffee, or like not being awkward and just like being confident. And so I'm trying to translate that into my stand-up, into my everyday conversations with people, into my everyday relationships. So just like your question was like, what do I want people to take away? Is like I want people to take away like, man, that guy knows what he's doing. Like he's confident. Like he might be doing stand-up. He might have just like ordered a cup of coffee, but like he's having a good day. Like he's present. Like instead of being like, damn, that guy had a weird look in his face. Like, I don't know what's up with him.
Yeah, you don't ever want people to think you have bad vibes. And you're right, it is as simple as ordering coffee. Like, ordering coffee is a good example, because I think it's very, like, I think we all can relate to it. But the way you say your order to anybody is just like says so much about who you are, the kind of day you're having, and you know, everybody has bad days, everybody has good days. But the more you can just show up for people, I think the better, and I think the better your life is going to be in the long run, if you're able to let the bad stuff go and enjoy the good stuff.
Yeah, I just noticed that I was the guy that was like mumbling all the time, that would like mumble something and then it'd become like a misunderstanding, and then we'd just both be in an awkward situation. Whenever I'd go on stage, if I was bombing, I would start panicking, and because I'm like, you're not supposed to bomb as a comedian, but like that happens, and you're just supposed to be in the moment. And yeah, I just want people to, like, even if it's on stage, just to take away, oh, I know that guy a little bit better. Like he was very confident on stage. He knew what he was doing, and I feel like as a side product, it's just going to allow me to carry myself a little bit better through life. So that's what I've been working on.
Yeah, of course. I like that.
Where did Tank go?
I don't know. He disappeared.
He left.
I guess
He getting rid of those 6 Coronas?
Yeah, he's getting the 8th Corona on him, but it's okay. We'll keep going. We got the mic. We're recording. So what's your goal? I mean, beyond making comedy, you can. Some people answer this. You can go blue sky, your absolute dream.
Mm-hmm.
Some people drill it down. I find that I have blue sky goals, but when people ask me that, I feel like my goal is just whatever I'm working on right now, or whatever I'm working on next, or where I want my next thing to be. Because I think once I get to where I want to go, then I'll be able to be like, okay, now it's time to take a new goal.
So I'll give you both answers. So
okay.
I guess my short-term goal is to be a lot happier. I feel like throughout my whole life I've been a very anxious person. This is getting deep. I've been going to therapy a lot recently.
Sure.
And again, the reading, like I just want to be a lot more present, just be happier. And a step that I've taken towards that is to quit my job and actually do this full time. Because since I've been doing stand-up full time, it's just my life has changed like incredibly. Like it's because I'm doing what I love to do.
Right.
And we talked about this earlier. Like I don't have money, but it's fun. Like,
artist lifestyle. Yeah.
If you don't have money but you're at a job that you hate, that's like 10 times worse than not having money. But hey, you're doing stand up.
Right.
That's my short term goal, is to just enjoy where I'm at. Like you said, just do the next show, write the next joke. That's kind of like my short term reality that I'm living in.
Mm-hmm.
Long term, similar. Again, happiness is like a theme for me, but I think the way I would want my life to go is I just want to be able to be creative and be able to make a decent living. Like I don't want to make tons of money. I want to be able to pay rent.
Yeah.
If I can pay rent at an apartment, and
be a comic.
In a comic,
yeah.
and not be broke, have a little bit of cash saved up, that is my absolute goal.
Yeah.
If we're thinking big here, I would love to be a stand-up comedian. I would love to direct something at some point. I'd love to write on shows, like the writing on The Simpsons, the writing on Arrested Development, the writing on all those shows. Like I fucking love it. Like if I could be a writer for a TV show for a little bit,
right.
Just in general, I'd want to put myself in a position where I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And stand-up is kind of I feel like it's taking me in that direction, because there's so many things you can do. Like I've never thought of myself as being just one thing forever. Like I don't think I could be a stand-up comedian, like only a stand-up comedian for my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I want to like dip my toes into like different things. Like I don't, Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, Donnie.
Is it Donald Glover?
Donald Glover.
There you go.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Like he's one of the people I look up to as well. Like he's done stand-up comedy, he's done music, he has his show. I wouldn't want to do exactly what he's doing, but I feel like he's put himself in a position where he just has a bunch of creative outlets, and that's what I want.
And then people, whoever his audience is, they choose like, oh, I like his comedy, oh, I like his acting, oh, I like his music.
It's not even from like a marketing perspective. It's just like, hey, this is what I have to offer to the world.
Yeah, I'm gonna offer it.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like that's both my short-term and long-term goals. So first Hank left, and now we can't see him.
Yeah, when you turn on your camera, you're just like leaving and coming back. What's the deal?
Changing.
Well, the deal is, I went and got another beer, and second, I was messaging you on the low key to let you know audio's kind of going a little south. Can you cut the camera feed? Bandwidth problems.
Well, obviously you're gonna edit that out.
I am not gonna edit that shit out. My drunk ass is gonna leave that shit right in so everybody can laugh.
Did we hear everything we've been talking about for the last 30 minutes?
Oh, you could hear everything. Everything was fine. It just started to go a little bad, and then that's what I was trying to like. Yo, Marc, motherfucker! I'm not trying to interrupt you, Josue. It's just like I'm trying to get Marc attention. He ain't trying to gather.
Hey, just to be clear, it's not the mic, Marc. If you were still planning on buying it from me, like, it's not.
No, this is the stuff we go through when it comes to internet connection. I had shitty internet connection. Hopefully, I could probably make some money on some motherfucking stand-up, and I could quit my shitty ass job.
Just get some internet connection.
Let me not talk shit about my job, because there's people I work with that listen in on this, too.
Okay.
If you guys don't mind me asking, how long have you guys done the podcast for?
I'll let Tank answer that.
I am the founder and creator of Incompetent Nerds, and I've been doing this shit for 3 years.
Nice.
3 years? Oh my
Mark,
God.
you
I didn't
joined
even
at the tail
realize
end.
that. Oh my goodness.
Mark was a proud supporter
I
in the
started,
beginning when I told him. I'm like, Mark, I'm gonna have a podcast. I'm gonna be nerdy and all types of stuff. He started listening. He's like, okay, cool. He started to listen to it. It was like straight news type shit. Like, today in nerd culture, we bring you like the new fucking games of PlayStation 4 and all this other bullshit. No. And then when he, like, that's what it was. It was like sports, sports, gaming, movies, news, all this other shit. And then the co-founder, Jay, or JJ, as he likes to be called, I always got confused on every other fucking episode. Hey, Jay, hope you're listening to this. Fuck you and that fucking name, bro. You always confuse me. I still love you, man. Reach out. We got to do another podcast. He was also a founding father. We developed the name. Well, not I came up with the name. And we started the podcast together. And it literally started off as like, just giving out news and what's happening in the world of nerd, sports, and all this other shit. But as time went on, me and Jay started doing it less and less. There was time we couldn't get like a real stable time. And then it went for months. Like if you go back through like our archives of episodes, you'll see like there's either weeks or months between episodes. And that's because me and Jay couldn't put a time down. And then Mark came up to me, was talking about, you know, his stand-up comedy and how people are telling him to do a podcast and all this other stuff. And I told him, like, yo, when you just joined Minds, he goes, that's why I called you. I wanted, like, how about, you know, we do it together, doing Competent Nerds together. I was like, fucking sweet. I needed another co-host. Cool. And right when that happened, that's when Jay left the cast. And broke my heart. Hope you're listening, you motherfucker.
So for a time, it was three of you guys.
No,
It was just two.
I don't know if I think you interviewed me. I don't know if Jay was ever on the cast.
Yeah.
I think we did an episode together, but you were just interviewing me.
Yeah, it was just me.
And then I sort of had the perspective of like, well, if we're gonna do this together, like let's just talk about, you know, our friendship, things, you know, we're nerds about, you know, we'll find topics along the way, because I think that I mean, this is my belief. Anybody can critique it, but a podcast should be about, you know, your story and, you know, your vision and, you know, sharing your vision and bringing other people along with your vision, not necessarily news or stories. I mean, there's storytelling and news along the way, but that's just my perspective. So
no, that's cool.
Fun.
Yeah,
like
December it'll be one.
Oh yeah, December. Yeah, December would be 1 year, right?
Yep.
Shit.
Right? Yeah. Didn't even think about it, did you?
No, and I'm not gonna lie. You're like that great girlfriend that put me right back on track, bro. With the whole podcast and everything, like I'm loving how this is going. I'm loving how we did get a third co-host. So I'm gonna go ahead and announce that we did get a third co-host. Ladies and gentlemen, we are welcoming D to the cast.
Right now, you got him on the line.
I should pull his ass up right now and be like, "Yo, say what's up."
His debut.
Yeah, D's been on a few episodes, and you guys do
our specials.
drunken casting. Yeah, so that's he sort of helps us out there. But yeah, it's been a cool ride. That was a good guest asked a question.
I don't know, because like this is like I was telling Mark earlier, like he's very organized, and I like the structure of this podcast. I like the questions you guys are asking.
Of course,
I'm gonna go back and listen to other people you guys have interviewed.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
That'll be awesome.
We'll end it with a few questions just so we can finish out the list. If there's something in comedy you would do differently, Jose, what would it be? If you told your past self, your 4-year-old self, right before you went on that open mic.
So something I could do differently is don't be afraid to mess up, because I feel like a lot of time when I go up at first, I wouldn't be myself. Like I'm a very silly guy. I always thought like, a comedian has to be dark and incisive and like just make a comment on society. You just have to be yourself. Like if that's not you, don't do it. And I feel like I was afraid to fail because I was like, most comedians aren't like me, so I should probably conform to what they're doing. And so that's what I would do differently, because that's something I've been doing recently in the past couple months.
Yeah.
And it would have been great to start doing that from the very beginning, but hey, like you learn stuff along the way.
Learn along the way. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely that. Just don't be afraid to fail.
I like it. And I always like to end this question, but I want you to plug all your socials and your cast. Why should people listen to you?
Because I'm fucking funny.
I think that's the first curse word I heard him say.
I mean, I don't have a compelling argument. Is that weird to say? But
I actually like that.
I mean, there's so much out there for people to watch. It's just like I'm competing against literally every comedy special ever, and like every movie, every TV show. But if you can carve out a little time in your day to catch me on YouTube, just look up Josue Hernandez. There's literally no other comedian I think that is on YouTube. I don't know. It just gives you a fresh perspective about life. Like I don't know how many physicists are doing comedy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have a lot of things in my life that make me unique. Like I lived in Mexico for 6 years, majored in physics, just like a bunch of combination of things that just make my outlook mine. And yeah, that's really all I can say. I have my podcast that's going to start coming out this weekend. I just interviewed Marc, so that's going to come out in about 3 weeks or so. It's called No Credits Needed. It's just I'm just interviewing people that are starting out their career, whether it be in stand-up, in art, in music, just like how they got started, what they're passionate about. So you guys can listen to me on there. And I usually am more present on Instagram, so follow me at Josue Hernandez Pics, and there you go.
I just want to give props to that name, No Credits Needed. I fucking love it.
Thanks, man. It took me like a year to come up with that.
Took you a year to come up with a name, and then it's like, okay, now I get to start recording.
You want to hear the story about Incompetenters, how I came up with that name?
Oh, for sure.
I think, Mark, you already know it. I was at work, and I just recently received my new work computer, which was the MacBook Pro with the touch bar. And I was typing, what was that? I was typing incomplete, and I misspelled it. And when I saw on the touch bar, incompetent actually appeared, and it kicked me in. It kicked me. I was like, incompetent nerds. There you go. That's the podcast. Like, it seriously was me misspelling incomplete when I was writing the email, and right when I saw incompetent appear, it was just like, that's it. That's gonna be the fucking podcast, Incompetent. Because I forgot what was the original name. Jay knows it because he came up with it, and I'm like, that name is shitty. We gotta come up with something totally out of the blue.
No, that's that's exactly how jokes come up too. Like you'll just see a word somewhere, and be like, huh, and then you just connect things, and then there you go. There's a premise for a joke,
and it's like way better than the last joke you wrote.
I was telling Marc I like the name, and he was showing me the logo that you guys have too. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, 3 years, homie, and hopefully in 3 years you make it bigger.
Hey, we'll keep on interviewing each other.
Right, we'll be special guests on each other's podcasts. I think that'll be great.
For sure.
Are we gonna do the outro? This sounds super unprofessional, but I don't care. Or are you gonna put the one we recorded in?
We're gonna just do the motherfucking outro because I still haven't recorded that one yet, and I'm still, after everything that went down in my home. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Incompetent Nerds. I am your host Tank with Marc and our special guest Josue Hernandez. Please check the description below. You will find all of our links along with Josue's. I was gonna say Jose. Don't kill me.
You wouldn't.
All of Josue's information will be below as well, along to all his social links and his podcast. No credits needed. Thank you for tuning into this episode. You guys have a lovely day. I'm gonna go drink some more, and peace out. Oh, so nobody's gonna say bye, huh?
I thought
I
it
didn't
was
know
so
where it ended.
perfect. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.